Looking for some positive confirmation that recording started. Did you guys?
Yeah, it says it is.
Yes, it's okay. It's recording.
Okay, cool. So I'm in my task list here, and I just highlighted. I mean, I try to keep track of what I've done and what I haven't done, because if I leave it for a week or so, I'm like, well, where am I at? So the thing that I had accomplished was, moving the tractor with a 2D nav goal and with a simple point and click that mostly worked. And what I've spent a little bit of time on is updating the URDF file with a helper spreadsheet. Updated the offset on base link. So basically tweaking some of the settings. I've also got a GUI to help me start up the launch files. And I added command velocity to the GUI, and I need to tweak that GUI a little bit because it's not displaying the float on that. So that's still on.
When you're saying that you add a command velocity to the UI, is that you press a button and the tractor go forward?
No, it's just a display. Let's see, do I have that?
Yes. You display the topic and you see that the topic is receiving commands.
Exactly right. Yeah. So
Okay.
if I go to my where's my startup procedures? I'm on my Windows machine, so I don't. So this is an old version of my GUI. But on my Ubuntu machine, when I fire up this GUI now, in addition to, the low resolution ankle position and the GPS status, it will show the command velocity, angular Z, and linear X, I think, if I got those right, or reverse if I got those wrong here in it.
Okay.
And I'm not, it's more a convenience factor just to show that it's reporting that than anything. And then my base station, I got a physical thing with my base station. I had a water leak in my base station, so I had a little bit of power issue on my base station that I have to fix. So anyway, that's what I'm working on at the moment.
You get a short circuit?
Say that again, Juan.
You get a short circuit?
I did, yes, I did. So I'm doing a little power physical repair on my base station. So anyway, I'm hoping to get back out this weekend and do more physical testing, and we'll post that progress. That's where I'm at. Anybody else want to? Oh, and then Jeff, the USB stick is supposed to arrive today that you finally sent me by way of my mail forwarding drama that I was able to get resolved.
Sorry, I lose the last one. What did you say?
Jeff made copies of videos and he sent me a USB stick with those videos, and it got lost in the mail for me. And well, it didn't get lost, it just got waylaid, and
Okay.
it's making its way to me.
Okay.
Just a quick comment on that. I see Juan just sent me a note saying when he downloaded his files, he ended up with 252 meeting videos, and I only have 250. Now, it could be that something else was considered a meeting and I didn't. And then he said he got 6 ROS Europe meetings. And I didn't save the ROS meeting Europe meetings at all, because when I attended a couple of those, they just seemed to be business meetings they were having, and I just didn't really care, so I didn't save those. So I just specifically saved the community meetings and the lawn tractor meetings, and I came up with 250 total videos.
Okay, but it wasn't me, it was Javier, the one that said that.
Yeah, I'm sorry, it was Javier, yeah.
How are you? Yes, I download all the videos, but I didn't filter the community meetings and the lawn tractor meetings. So I think that there is a
No, se te cortó. I think that, no, Javier, you are mute. Javier, estás muteado.
Sorry. Yes. No, that
Okay.
I say I am download all the videos. I didn't filter. I use YouTube downloader. It's a command and line tool for Ubuntu, and I download all the videos. So I didn't filter anything.
Okay.
Yeah, I didn't realize I could put in a command that says get everything. So I went through and did them all by hand. I went through and first
Yes.
I went through the big video index and wrote down, I copied and pasted each title and each URL into a text file. And I stripped all those URLs out and just made scripts to run each one at a time. So if I would have known about that thing that you found, that would have been so much easier. I could just point into it and said, go. And now it probably won't run because it probably needs that original video index file that Matt deleted all the videos out of. So you probably can't do it again, but I think I have close enough to everything that I wanted, and it looks like you've got the extra little handful of extra files. So yes, if anybody needs this stuff, we can figure something out.
Yes, a lot of work, the manual downloading.
Yeah, but we get the index, so it's finally it's okay.
And for Javier, if you're not, if you didn't notice this, I've created an index of about a little over half of the videos now. Let me back up. I'll post a link just so.
Okay.
When you say the thing that Javier found, I'm looking at the post in random and I'm not.
I see, he sent it to me privately, and it's simply, he found a web page and somebody said, how do I download everything? I'll cut and paste here in a second. Let me finish what I was doing here.
I don't know, maybe we can upload to YouTube again, so, but I don't know.
So the link I just posted is my website, and there's a
Okay.
there's a README file that says, here's what I did, and this is what you can expect, and this is what you won't expect to get out of it. And then I've got the original file, and then I just posted another file yesterday that's got, I think, 137 of the videos indexed. And you can just, it's just a searchable text file. So you just search through it for whatever you're looking for. And then at the top of each section, it'll tell you what the URL is, which the videos are still out on YouTube. They're just marked as private now. So apparently he just went down the list and said private, and they all disappeared from his index, but they're still out there for the moment. We don't know if they're going to stay there forever or not. Or now that we've got ones downloaded, somehow with enough playing around, you can figure out how to get from one. You figure out how to get from my index to the ones we downloaded.
Okay, perfect.
Al. Chef.
Yeah.
Yeah, do you want me to
continue because I think that chefs got more news, so mine are very little. So we leave more space for chef.
I don't really have a lot other than saying I put the stuff on my lawn tractor and played with it, but yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. Okay. This week, we managed to pull up the GPS, a Nublox GPS in the set, and we managed to take out the actuator again. So we finish adding the sensors and all the parts to the compound of the tractor. The main problem that I had was that I wasn't able to run I don't know why. I struggled to make work the Teensy IDE to flash the Teensy board, and I don't know why, because that was the thing that stop us to run.
Juan, I didn't understand the question. Did anybody get the Teensy to run?
We may have lost him. He cut out pretty quick there.
I still see him in the frame here.
Juan, we didn't hear you. No te escuchamos, Juan, ¿eh? I don't know what happened.
So I posted that link in chat, the one that Javier sent me, and it says somebody was asking how do I go to YouTube and download all the videos, and it just takes you through lots of different things you can do there to basically use that same program that you and I and Javier are using, but you just put on the command line, you give it some special commands, and you point to like an index, and it just downloads everything.
Cool.
And I didn't know about that at the time, so I did it the hard way.
Juan, are you back?
Yes. I'm having problems with I switch off the Bluetooth. I don't know what did you listen about what I said?
You started talking.
With the Teensy.
You were talking about your Teensy and couldn't get it to download, I think is what you were saying.
Yes. The problem of this week was getting the Arduino IDE and the Platformio IDE working with the Teensy board and the Blue Pill board, so we can shift to the next step, that is flashing those boards with the main CCP and that kind of things.
And so I've got some instructions on flashing the Teensy. I don't know if you've tried to use those or not.
No. I will go for that instructions because I was in the middle of another situation and I couldn't reach them. I will work with those instructions because the last time that I used them, I managed to get it working, but I don't know why now I couldn't. I thought that I could do it by memory, but it wasn't the case.
You can't flash the Teensy?
Yes, but I think that it got something to do with my configuration. I got a lot of problems with the visual code. I don't know why. I'm with problems with visual code, and I was with problems with the Platformio, but I wasn't able to flash it. But I think that next week I will be able to do it. But I don't know why I have so much problems.
Maybe if you try with the Arduino IDE.
No, but I have problems with Arduino here too. So the first thing that I tried, was the Visual Code and Platformio, because now I'm using that. The other thing that I tried was to, besides that, was to try to use the Arduino, but I tried it for 1 hour. I have to leave because here we are under restriction of transport due to the pandemic. I have to get my my partner to the town because we were reaching the hour that we have to stop to work. So I couldn't give it another chance.
Okay.
I can tell you, I mean, it's been a while. I always, if you're using, are you using Platform IO?
Yes, for the other projects, I'm using Platform IO because I found it more useful, and it got a lot of tools for the code correction.
Yeah, I mean, I loved it personally. I mean, I mean, for me, I always would be like, you know, exclude Platform IO, just a Blink program and the Teensy and the laptop, start with that, and then Blink, Platform IO, and then remotely Platform IO through the RPi Blink, and then my more complicated program. I mean, I would just always build up whenever I would have trouble. So I would start with sort of the simplest thing.
Yes, but the problem is that the guy that's working with me, he doesn't use the Ubuntu. He uses a Windows laptop, and that's so I have to do the things both. For one point of view, it's very useful because as I'm building the documentation for ROS, it's very useful to get the screen caps and all that kind of things about Windows. But really, working it's much easier when you get it straightforward from Ubuntu. And I want to get more with the command line tool, the PO1, because that's the way I use it. Well, it's not a problem to. It's only a problem for me.
I get it. I mean, let me know if I can help at all.
Yes, it's okay. It's okay. The other thing that the only very, very important thing is that I get for the other project that I'm working, I get to get my first board from China, and we are learning more how to build that boards through PCB way, and I hope that one day in the future I can bring something to the community with that.
Juan, sorry, you use PCB way to build a board?
Yes. We why?
Yes. No, I listen.
Okay, it was something that in the other project that we are building, as we are working with electronics and we are trying to put it all together, we have reached a problem that they are beginning to buy us things and we cannot supply them enough with the speed that we need. So the only solution that we found out to do that is to build like a prefabricated board to match all the components there, and will be much easier because we are having problems as we have to solder all the components, the same problems that we have in ROS with the setups of the Teensys and that kind of thing, with the short circuit, that kind of things. So we are building that. My partner in the other project is an electrical engineer from the FUBA, and he's very clever. I'm trying to pull him to this project, but he's very cautious about that. But it's my it's in my agenda to do that.
How many components on your board?
Oh, I think that there are more than 11 components. Like you have an RF signal, you have a cellular modem communication, you have sensors, and we are using in the platform. We are using Arduino Pro Mini, and you have the step downs and that kind of things.
Cool.
Yes. Yes. For me, I didn't expect to go so far. So I hope that for the robot, I will get in the same way.
And so I'm going to ask a question about the Pro Mini,
Yeah.
because you may recall in my wheel encoder,
Yes.
I have to, I mean, I've got a microcontroller. I happen to be using a Nano, and I've got this magnetic sensor, and I've got to, connect the two.
Yes.
How are you, is the Pro Mini just the chip, the actual chip, and you're having
Yes.
that soldered onto the board?
No. We use the complete Arduino Mini. We put, I don't know how to say it in English. I don't know the correct word, but we solder the pins and we put it on the ribbons or on the ribs that are in the board, so we can recycle the components. Because we live here in the third world and we need to recycle all because we don't know if we are going to get them again. So that was one thing that we get in mind, so that we can pull up if we have some problem with some board, or in the future we can recycle the boards and the Arduinos for other projects.
So you put a socket on the board.
Yes.
And you're
Yes,
putting
yes.
you're inserting the
Yes,
Pro Mini
yes.
into your socket.
It's
Yes,
like an
yes.
insertion component.
What?
It's like an insertion component.
Yes.
The Arduino Pro is it's a superficial module integrated, but you use the socket to integrate in your board.
Okay. Yes. That.
Cool. Well, that
Yes,
still
but
sounds very interesting to design.
We have a lot of problems with the Arduinos and the tensions in the Arduinos. We are not sure about this, if it is something about the Arduinos that we get here in Argentina, but we burn out a lot of them and the regulators in the Arduino board, because they weren't able to get over, I think that was 8 volts. In the specifications, it says that they could get, I think, over 15 volts, but it wasn't the case. So we burned a lot of boards till we managed to put a step down to put it in the right amount of energy.
You power up the Arduino with 8 volts.
Yes, but you can do that when you get the real Arduinos. When you get the Chinese Arduinos, you have to go with, I think that we are using 6 volts now.
Okay. Yes, in the case of my robot, I'm used for all the boards, the DC converters before to aliment the boards. Because the noise, in the case if you have motors, for example, it's the case of the robots, the noise in the lines, in the power lines, maybe can reset the Arduino boards and cause a lot of problem in the circuits. So it's for me, it's a good practice to put before the alimentation of the Arduino a DC converter to filter this noise.
Okay. Yes, the problem of in this project was different because we use solar energy, and the energy consumption in all the parts was an important deal, because we weren't able to get an infinite amount of energy. So we have to work with the 12 volts cell battery. I don't know if it is said like that in English. That are the batteries that we use in the alarms and maybe some toys. That was the case.
Okay. Yes, one problem, if you power up the Arduinos with, I don't know, 8 or 10 or maybe more volts, it's that the regulator inside of the Arduino dissipate power, and the consumption increase, because for reduce the power of the to 5 volts, the regulator dissipate power and the efficiency reduce. So maybe when you power up the Arduino with 5 volts, not for the input power, instead you can use the B-in power. You can use only 5 volts and put the DC-DC converter to increase the efficiency of the circuit.
Yes, we end up doing that. We put a 1582. I think it's the one. I think it's 1582. 1582, and we used that one,
okay.
And we solved the problems with that, and we didn't go back.
Okay.
Are you connecting the USB connector also when you're trying to power it from an external power supply?
No, the Pro Mini doesn't have a USB port.
Okay, because I was going to point out, if you're trying to hook up a USB cable and you're trying to connect external power, that those two will conflict. And we talked about, we went through that on Al's project, and I just pulled up a video here. I don't know if that got recorded or not, but we went through the schematics and talked about putting diodes in and various other things. So if anybody wants to do that, you want to run it from both at the same time, just connecting those together may cause problems. But if you just have the Pro Mini, which does not have the USB connector on it at all, then yes, you can run an external power. And when I run into a problem like that, as Javier was saying, I like to take a DC to DC converter, feed my battery into that, and run it down to like 8 volts or 7 volts, and then feed all your little boards from that. So you just have a lower voltage to feed into those in the first place. So it's more of a two-step process to do that.
Yes,
yeah.
We end up doing something similar to that.
In my case, I power an Arduino board, and from the Arduino board with the USB connector, I power the Arduino. So the Arduino board reduce the 12 volts to the 5 volts that the Arduino needs. It's like if you connect your Arduino to the computer, it's the same. So okay. I didn't need a DC-DC in the case of the reduction to 12 volts to 5 volts, but I put a DC-DC converter to reduce the 12 volts to the input of the other board.
Another good reason to have an extra converter in between there is because the electrical system, say if you have a vehicle, whether it's a car or a truck or a tractor or lawn tractor, that is not a stable 12-volt power supply on those things. You can get noise spikes on there, and when you start it, the voltage drops. And so if you have something else in between that takes that fairly unclean power supply and gives you a clean output, you're also probably better off doing that.
Absolutely. Yes, it's very good.
And I just
think that was Javier was saying.
Sorry, Juan?
That I think that was what you were saying about the noise in the circuit, and that was the thing that coming back to the last meeting, I think that was the thing that I have problems with the motor in the steering wheel at the beginning, but as I showed the last time, the problem was another thing and was what we were talking last time.
Right. Yes, maybe another problem that you can have is if you have analog encoders, in my case, in my steering system, I have an analog encoder, and if the power line have noise, I have a lot of problem with that. So I resolve this problem using the DC-DC converter, but this is another problem that could be appear if you have an analog encoder. Like a potentiometer, for example.
So I posted a link in the chat, I think is the video where we were talking about Al's, his Teensy 3.2 and how to connect it to, you know, both USB and to an external power supply and various other things. And just in that discussion, there may be something that pops up there and somebody says, oh, I never thought of that. So that might be worth going through and watching that. And that may not even be the one I'm thinking of, but I think my description said we were talking about the power, and then the links down below are saying something about the 3.2 schematics. So I think that's what it was. We actually went back to schematics and looked at how different boards, how the power is wired up, and usually you have to put an external diode. Sometimes the power coming in from the USB has a diode between that and the voltage regulator. And then we hook up the external power, you have to add an extra diode there. So you don't have one power supply trying to drive the other power supply, is why you have to do those kind of things. And they don't make it obvious when you go to buy these boards. Nobody even mentions it. You have to go look at the schematics to see what they did and see if they did a reasonable thing or not. So anyway, that's something you can go look at if you get time.
Thanks, Jeff.
Juan, anything else?
Yeah, Chef.
Yes.
Yes, I wanted to ask, how did you build the index? You build it by hand? How do you get the I don't know how to say, the things that we were talking?
Basically put, yes, I built it by hand. And when I started off, I thought, well, how am I going to do this?
I want to thank you for doing that, because there must be a huge work.
It was a fair amount of work, and it was a lot of, I had to do a lot of clever things to get all the stuff that I needed. And then it came down to the fact you have to just pull up a video and sit and watch the entire thing. And every time the conversation changes, you have to put down a timestamp and you have to type in what somebody's saying. So it's kind of a pain, but I started doing this for myself because I knew there's a lot of information. I had no idea where anything was. So I started putting this together and then thought other people could use it too. So that's why I posted it out on the website there.
Thank you for that.
And I just did a couple more, indexed a couple more videos a couple days ago because Bob said, well, how do you, I found this on this one video from 2018. I said, well, could you be a little more specific? And he pulled up the link and showed it to me. And I had not indexed that one yet. That's the first time I was talking about my remote control system that I built. I basically said, I got this box and these parts, I will make it work. So he says, oh, could you document that? I want to build one of those. And I went to my index and said remote, and it popped up the one where I went through it in more detail. It's probably not enough detail to build one from scratch, but so it's handy for that. I pulled up a second video to refer him to.
Okay, because I was willing to understand how you do it. And I said, the only way to do it in a reasonable way is to do it by hand. But I couldn't believe that you did it by hand. But thank you for that.
So you didn't think it was crazy enough to actually do it? Okay, I see. Oh, that's exactly what I was up against. And there are other options. You go into the videos, you can say turn on closed caption, and it will attempt to listen to what people are saying and give you text down below. And I think somebody said you can actually save that to your hard drive if you really try. But it just seems like the audio is usually not clean enough, and it doesn't know what we're talking about. So it'll say it'll put really stupid things in there. So it may be handy to find stuff, but you can't just pull it up as a transcript and have it match, you know, whatever somebody's saying. But so that's yet another way. And I tried lots of different things to make this work. And in the end, it's just easy to pull up a video and start watching it and writing it down. That's what it comes down to. Oh, I have a question for Javier. When you downloaded that stuff, did you get the comment section that was down below? Actually, I think it's called the description section, because what Matt did, he took the chat from Zoom, like we're doing right now in the chat window, and he pasted that in down below as the in the description. And if you go look at it on the page, those actually show up as links. If you click on it, it'll take you to whatever the link says. But when I was just trying to copy that, I can only just cut and paste that as text. So my links are all screwed up. And I just wondering if you had a way to, that stuff you're going through, did you see a way to grab those descriptions? Otherwise, I found out that when Slack was archived, Doug took that information and did something with it. So there's some files out under, I think it's under the Lawn Tractor Wiki. So if you go to GitHub, Lawn Tractor, and at the top, click on Wiki. That's it's not obvious other than clicking on that. There's a section that says something about Slack something. If you click on that, it's got like a 1 to 1.5 year period of messages that are stuck in there. And those links actually work. So if I get all of my videos indexed, I might go back and start replacing those. So those actually work. And I described that in my README file at the top. I said, you know, that's what I did. I just had to cut and paste the text, which screws up the links, but it's closer than, it's handy because when you do a search, that might bring up something else, get you closer to what you're looking for.
It's a lot of work. I share with you a link in the chat of the Zoom. This link is a course of the Universidad of Freiburg. It's very, very interesting because it's from the professor Wolfram Bulgar. I took this link from the old ROS-Agriculture chat, and I download all the course because you have the MP4 files and the class and the exercises, and it's very interesting because it's a course of mobile platforms, and there is a lot of information and a lot of background theory of robotics. So maybe it's useful for us. I think that Matt published this link.
Yeah, it's possible, but keep in mind, most of that stuff disappeared. So yeah, there might be ways to go back and get bits and pieces of it. But yeah, it's good to, you know, repost things occasionally if it's something good to post it again.
And the name of it's not more ROS-Agriculture. I think that is Robot Agriculture. Maybe the links changed because the name changed. So
did he actually? I could have sworn that originally said ROS-Agriculture, and yes, now it says Robot Agriculture on that page.
Robot Agriculture, yes.
So I was wondering if he's trying to hide the fact that he was associated with it, or somebody raised a copyright issue, or I don't know. I don't know what happened. Since he didn't tell anybody anything about what he was doing, nobody knows why any of this happened.
Okay.
Javier, this link, although that link specifically is in English, are the lessons in English or are they in German?
All the lessons are in English, and if you enter to the links, you can download the class and the material of the course. It's very, very, very interesting. There is a practice from the lectures, and you can, I don't know, do the practice, and you can listen in the class to.
And is it generic or was it ROS specific?
It's not ROS. It's only background theory of robotics. But you can learn about SLAM. You can learn about grid maps. So you can one class is for me are particularly interesting about Kalman filters, how work the Kalman filters, because for the robot is very important. You can integrate or fuse some sensors. So a class of Kalman sensor are very interesting. I don't know if you have two source of odometry or three sources of odometry, and you need to integrate this source. The class of Kalman filter can help to implement in ROS.
Yeah, along those same lines, I just put a link in as well. This is a little bit more specific, although it's not GPS enabled.
Okay.
This particular link was to an individual who built
which ones? Okay.
Ackerman steering ROS
Yes.
driven
ERP. Yes, I have one.
Yeah, I don't think it was an RPI. I forget what. I think he used an O board for his compute.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yes.
he goes through sort of step by step his journey. I thought it was very well done. It's a couple years old, but
Very nice. Yes.
I was particularly interested in his tuning. Steering tuning is how I found it, because he goes into a little bit of detail about how he stopped the backwards driving.
Very nice.
So that's worth, I think, when you get to a point of anybody wanting to get into some detail about flex base and steering tuning, this is quite well done, I thought. Especially, I thought, Juan, you also mentioned you guys were trying to build a small ROS.
I have one of these small robots in my laboratory to test the different package of ROS. It's very useful because you can debug your code in your package, and when you have the final configurations, you can test in the real robot. So it's very useful.
And is yours Ackerman steering or?
I'm use Ackerman steering. Yes, I use TIB planner to control the robot.
And do you use move base flex to?
No, I'm use move base for now.
Okay.
But
Javier, you're talking about your robot. You're talking about the little robot that you have, or something similar to the NOAA project.
No, it's I buy in a similar robot that the Medium article that share but I need this small robot to test the move base and the navigation package. But I buy my own robot.
Okay.
Later I send a picture of the robot.
Thank you.
Did you have to install a GPS on it, or it's just?
No, I'm using an Arduino simple board with an accelerometer. It's an accelerometer, magnetometer, and gyroscope to obtain the heating. So I use the RTK and the sensor for the heating. And I start the test. I have only one test in field, but for now I'm very happy with the results. I need to continue work. But
So for localization, how does it know where it's at?
for localization, I use the RTK GPS and sensor for the heating.
So you did put GPS on it.
The Arduino simple board I use.
Arduino simple. Okay.
Yes,
Wow.
yes,
That's fantastic.
It's very straightforward implement the Arduino simple board, because when you buy the kit, the boards have sent in my case the manufacturer configure the board for me, so I only plug in and the RTK start to working. So I only integrate the sensors in ROS, but the configuration of the GPS are resolved for the
Did
for
they
the
give
manufacturer.
you the URDF and everything?
Yes, I buy the URDF file. No, the URDF I grab my own robot in SolidWorks, but I create the package and integrate this sensor with ROS in the case of the heating.
So you got your own transforms to work. I mean, because
Sorry?
that was getting transforms to work for me anyway was a big pain in the pain.
Yes. You have a plugin that is URDF transform, that if you put in your model, in your card model, the axis from the wheels, from, I don't know, the RTK, the base link, and all the reference coordinates, the plugin automatically create a package to transform this model to ROS. So you only need to drop in your CAD the different links, and the automatically the URDF transform do the work for you. It's very useful.
Yeah, sometime it would be, if you're willing, it would be very interesting to see how you.
Yes, of course.
Specifically what you're doing with ODOM and the RTK information and how you're bringing that together.
Yes, of course. If you maybe in one meeting, I can share with you my experience with deal with that.
Because how I'm bringing it together is mess. It's a mess.
It's a lot of work, because you need to go to the field test, you go back and have a lot of problems. I don't know, it's a lot of work, a lot of iteration. You need to iterate a lot.
What I would like to get to is when I have RTK lock, use RTK for basically for ODOM. But when RTK is not fixed, to use, the wheel encoders as the primary localization data.
Yes, it's a problem, because the ODOM from the wheels had a lot of systematic errors. So
right.
Your localization, if you have a lot of time in where the RTK don't have signal, your localization are very bad. So it's more reliable if you stop the robot and wait for the GPS signal.
But like when you first start out and I'm in the garage, and it's GPS starved, ODOM from the wheel encoders would be perfectly fine. Anyway, so it would just be fascinating to see how you've done that, because it sounds like you're really advanced in what you've done.
One option is fusing the odometry from the wheels to the odometry from the GPS. Fusing this two source of odometry, you can improve the final localization. But the problem is when you lost the signal. So
right.
Yes.
Juan, I think we started talking and you were trying to share. Were you done?
Okay.
Juan, are you okay?
The next
I was
week.
mute. I was mute. I was talking. No, it's okay. I was suffering a lot. It's okay.
Javier, anything else to share?
No, for me it's good. Thanks for him.
I have several questions for Javier. The question of GPS in the field came up and you posted a picture of your vehicle, and I just posted your presentation to the chat if people want to go back where you're explaining the whole thing. But you were saying that the GPS works great in soybeans, but not in corn and sorghum.
No,
Is your vehicle tall enough to drive through a cornfield? It seems like the corn it would be in the way, and you couldn't even drive there.
the problem with the corn is the height of the plant. So when you are very far from the base station, the signal are very bad. And if you have a high humidity condition, the problem is worse because the signal are weak. So in my experience, you lost the signal very easy in fields in where the plants are highest. That in the case of, for example, the soybean, that the plant are I don't know how to say the size of the plant is small. Okay, because the signal it's absorbed by the crop. So
Javier?
if it, yes.
Let me ask you a question, but I don't understand while you are explaining this, it's confusing if you're talking about the signal of the GPS or
No,
if you're talking about the correction.
the signal of the correction.
Oh, but that maybe
No,
you can find
yes,
out a way to solve that, because you can use another way of transmitting that signal.
No, it's a signal of the correction from the base station to the rover.
Yes, but why don't you use LoRa or maybe another kind of RF communication to?
No, I use Wi-Fi, but in the case of LoRa, the strength of the signal is better, but it's more expensive, a LoRa module than a Wi-Fi module. So I use Wi-Fi antenna to transmit the corrections. But yes, you can use, and in the case of the LoRa, improve the
Yes, because I didn't understand that the problem was that that one that you have. I thought that the problems that you were having was that the antenna of the GPS of the robot, as it was more near to the floor, didn't get the signal or the amount of satellites that they need to perform a really well calculation.
No, the problem is the link between the base station and the rover. And when you have a crop that are high in the middle, the signal strength are weak in the rover, and maybe lost the signal when you are far from 1 or 2 kilometers from the base station. This is the problem.
Okay.
Can you put your Wi-Fi antenna up on the mast where the GPS antenna is? So you raise both antennas up above all of your crop.
Yes, if you elevate the two antennas, have improved the link. But the problem, if you elevate a lot your antenna, is if you have wind, for example, the antenna moves and have problem with the localization. It's one problem. You need a robust structure in field to resolve that.
Yes.
This is one problem.
Yes. The other day I was talking with a guy that here in my town, that is a friend of mine, that he has a big tractor, a New Holland tractor with the RTK correction, and there is a problem with the height and the pressure of the tires to get the oscillation of the antenna on the top of the tractor. That's the
Right.
way that is sensible. I'm not sure if I'm being able to explain myself, but to get the right correction, it's so important. The tire pressure, all the things in the tractor are important.
You're on mute.
Oh,
Al, you're on mute.
I've never heard that
Oh.
tire pressure would drive the sensitivity to RTK.
yes, because it's so it's all because there are a lot of things. It's not about the sensibility of the RTK, but it will give you false measures because you are not getting the right. I don't know how to say. You don't get an homogeneous toll of the tractor.
Clearly, it's going to impact the height.
Yes.
It's because your base is not flat. If you got one tire on one side that's lower than the other, your tractor's going to tilt a little bit one direction or the other. Or if in the front, say that the tire pressure is, the thing's going to tilt a little bit. If you got this big arm sticking up that's say 2 meters or 10 feet tall, that affects up at the top. It affects as the vehicle tilts. It moves over like this. So you have to compensate for that. So if you put tilt sensors on your vehicles, you know you should be able to get around the tire pressure problem, unless it's just as you're driving over uneven ground, the thing is just rocking around all the time anyway, you might have a problem.
Well, that's the same thing that you're doing when you're planting on a hill too. New Holland is supposed to take care of that.
Can you see my screen?
Yes.
This is my robot. This is the GPS antenna here. This is the Wi-Fi link, and this is the antenna. So with that, I'm far from 1 kilometer, maybe 1.5 kilometers from the base station, and works well. This is the soybean fields in Argentina, where we're working. But when you have corn, the height of the corn are similar to the Wi-Fi station. So the problem is you lost signal. So in my case, in the case of the soybean, worked fine, but in the case of the corn, I have problems. This is
you must have normal corn in your country. Here they've modified it so much; it's 3 times taller than that. So your thing would be you wouldn't even be able to see your vehicle because the corn would be twice as tall as what your vehicle is right there.
That's soybean, chef.
Yeah, I know, but he said the corn comes up to the level of his that gray box on there. Well, in the United States, the corn is 2 or 3 times taller than that.
Yes.
Because it's all genetically modified.
That this year that she's talking about in Argentina, we get a drop, and we didn't get tall corn.
But he's a kilometer away too. I mean, come on, Wi-Fi. That's asking a lot for Wi-Fi to be.
I use a patch antenna. So with that, I have 1 kilometer approximately.
Yeah,
but here the fields are very large.
So if you have a patch antenna, I assume it's somewhat directional. If you tried putting a motor to point it towards your base station, because you know where you are on the face of the earth, you know where your base station is, you can put a motor to turn the thing to point it in the correct direction and possibly get more range out of it by doing that.
Yes, or maybe an array of patch antenna you can resolve the problem, because you can construct an omnidirectional pattern with 3 or 4 patch antenna. It's a possibility.
But that's beyond me. I just think about one antenna at a time because
yes,
I don't get into the RF magic.
The problem with the omnidirectional antenna that the gain or the the antenna are lower than if you use directional antenna. But the problem with the directional antenna is only see in one direction. So you need to construct with more antennas the pattern that you need. So it's a very complicated problem.
But you know that something that maybe is useful for your problem is that when I was working with the RTK, one of the applications that I used was able to send if you put a cellular phone over the robot, it will create a Wi-Fi node and give the robot the correction from the cellular network. I'm not sure. If you want, I can explain it in Spanish, but I'm not sure how to explain it in English. Do you remember, Chef, when I pulled the RTK2Go node in my farm? Well, I use an application that I don't remember the name, but I can share it in a moment. That is that you pull. If you open your phone, you can build a node from your phone to the robot to get the correction from the internet. And
Juan,
as I tested, that works with 2G. And I think that will solve your problem.
you use your cell phone to create a Wi-Fi spot.
Yes.
And the GCM signal from your phone to connect to internet and obtain the correction from there.
Yes.
This is the solution. Okay.
Yes. You use the RTK2Go to the correction to the net, to the internet, and from your phone you get your correction to your tractor by pulling a Wi-Fi spot.
Okay. Okay, I'm sharing with you the sensor that I use for the heating. Maybe it can help you.
Okay.
No,
I will try to find out the app.
This is the sensor O055. It's from Bosch. It's a very, very stable sensor. I measure 0.2, 0.3 degrees of resolution and are very stable. The great advantage that this sensor have is have an REM processor that integrate the three sensors, the magnetometer, the gyroscope, and the accelerometer into one, and the output of the sensor is the orientation. So it generates a very stable signal. I test a lot of accelerometer, and for me, this is the best that I'm testing, and works very well.
Do you have problems with that dropping out? People were complaining that once you start it up, it calibrates itself, and you'd be driving along and just all of a sudden says, "Oh, I need to recalibrate." And all of a sudden it stops working. I just wondered if you'd run into that.
Yes, I have a problem with that. The problem is when I calibrate here in the laboratory, and when I move to the field, I need to recalibrate this sensor.
Well, the stories I was hearing was you'd be driving along just fine across the field, and all of a sudden it'd decide, "Oh, I need to recalibrate," and it would make you stop and recalibrate right in the middle of things. And nobody seemed to have an answer to fix that. So I was just curious.
No, it's a problem. Yes.
I was wondering if the simplest way is, I think they got a reset pin right on that module. Just simply have the processor reset the thing so it starts over if that'd be the quickest way to get it back up and running. So you'd probably still want to come to a complete stop and then say, you know, either cycle the power on it or cycle the reset pin, and then let it do its initial calibration, and maybe that would be a way
Yes,
to get
it
around that.
could be a possibility. Yes. Yes. I'm still working.
Yeah, I have one of those sensors laying here, but I haven't actually used it for anything. I've got it so it's talking to me, but I haven't put it on a vehicle or anything to try it.
Javier, it's been a while since I spent any time on that whole antenna tracking thing. I put a couple links in there if you,
Okay.
if you ever want to spend any time looking at it. It's another complete different platform, but the Arduino Pilot guys
Yes, I know. Yes.
and the
I
whole
never use it, but
FPV community, they have antenna tracking, and the ham radio guys, they have antenna tracking for different reasons as well, because they need to track, say, like the International Space Station as it's coming across. They want to track because they have directional antennas as well. The guys who want to take pictures of you know, the moon or other images in the sky with, I mean, they have tracking algorithms that they've written. I mean, there's a lot of different people who have sort of solved the math on tracking. So, but the Arduino Pilot guys have the closest sort of solution. If you want to try the directional antenna thing, I know in my professional job, you know, a 2.4 gigahertz radio, omnidirectional, we would never try to get a kilometer of distance out of that. I mean, the moisture in the air is just too much to deal with.
The moisture is a big problem, because one day you go to the field and work fine, and the other day it didn't work. So,
but a directional antenna, I mean, a Yagi antenna, you can do fantastic with directional antennas.
maybe you have, I don't know, 50 dB from the Yagi antenna in comparison with, I don't know, 5 dB with the omnidirectional. So it's a lot of difference.
Yeah, it absolutely is.
It's a lot of difference. 3 dB are the double of the distance. So if you have 10 dB more, you can, I don't know, maybe 3 kilometers you can obtain with that.
We actually use directional antennas down at 400 megahertz, and we get significant distance out of 400 megahertz with directional antennas. And, you know, with Wi-Fi, you're up at 2.4, or you may even be doing 5. But omnidirectional, you're not going to get there, I don't think, ever.
No.
But that's just me.
You lose a lot. You lose a lot of power in direction that you don't use. So this is the problem.
But it's all fun trying. Jeff, anything else? You were asking questions.
I was just curious about Javier trying to drive his vehicle through a cornfield, and he said, well, his corn isn't as tall, but it still seems like, you know, the corn's taller than the bottom of his vehicle. I just wondered how he was able to do that.
Oh, sorry, Chef. My English is not so good. Sorry. You have a question about how drive my vehicle in the cornfields.
Yeah, it just seems like the corn is tall enough you wouldn't be able to drive through the way your vehicle is built.
No, in our case, we have a field test in where the corn are planted from the size of the vehicle. So we will solve the problem because we are obtaining only image. So we need for this instance in the project that the image from the vehicle. We will solve the problem with that plant the corn from the size of the vehicle. So
Okay.
it's not the solution. It's only a test field for validated technology.
Javier,
Yes.
I think that the problem is that there is a misunderstanding between your two robots. You have one robot that takes
Yes.
the images of the corn from the bottom of the corn, and the other robot is the one that you show in the picture.
Yes, the robot of soybean, it's the big one. It's the robot that I showed you minutes ago. But I have another robot that is small and moves between the rows of the corn. So it's a small robot and move inside of the rows, not over the rows. So this is one solution or one possible solution within a small robot.
Okay.
Maybe I can share with you a picture, but I don't know if I have here in this.
And the one that goes between the rows, it takes pictures also. That's its function.
Yes. Because we took the pictures to phenotype the plant. So this is
a plant health sort of use.
Yes. Maybe I can share with you if you have time. You can see my screen?
Yes, but you have to change your image because I'm on it.
Yes.
And why doesn't Juan like row crops? Or no, you don't cover crops. Juan, why don't you like cover crops?
It's I didn't know that I bring this issue to the group.
Come on.
This is an image from the camera of the robot. We create a models that detect the pods in soybean fields. This box from here are the pods of the soybean. So we use the robot to count these pods, and with that we can estimate the performance of the field before cultivating. We can estimate the perform using these models. So we working with robotics and with deep learning models. This is the.
Are you using TensorFlow or what?
Yes, it's a YOLO. It's TensorFlow, but the implementation is with YOLO. I share with you the URL. Sorry.
Sorry, I will have to leave, but thanks, Javier, to come back. I hope that we can see the RTK working in one presentation and the odometry.
Yes.
Well,
maybe the way.
Sí, abrazo, amigo. Que te vaya bien.
Dale, Juan.
Ciao.
No,
bye, chef. Bye, Al.
Ciao,
Bye.
ciao.
YOLO. This is the library, YOLO.
Well, I think Jeff wanted to see your robot.
Is that the one that has the hoverboard wheels on it? Your little one? Or was that someone else's?
Sorry, this is the GitHub of the library that we are using for object detection. I share with you here in the chat. We train the models and then we use to infer the image. And the other robot, sorry, you have a moment, I can share with you the image. Okay, sorry. Y acá. Ahí. YOLO. A ver si acá hay fotos. Maybe here. No. Acá. Here. This is the other row. Half meter from this wheel to this wheel. So you can move the robot between the rows and take picture of the corn. Have a stereo camera and this lateral camera take the pictures.
It's running ROS.
Yes, use ROS, and the implementation of in the case of the robot is the same that the other. Have the same package. The only difference is use differential traction, and the other use a TIV planner that is different. But this is the same ROS implementation.
RTK GPS.
Yes, RTK GPS.
That's awesome. How long can it stay in the field?
This is the other. Sorry?
How long? What's its runtime?
Have one, 60 centimeters. 60 centimeters from this
So
wheel to this.
the duration, the length of time it can run in the field.
The direction?
No. Time, hours.
Okay. I understand. 5 hours.
That's awesome.
We use 2 lithium batteries from to power up the wheels. The controller are the same that the electric bikes, and this I think that is it overboard wheels. I don't know if you know the overboard, but it's a stand with 2 wheels that
Right.
you can move over. So I'm use this wheel, and the controller are the same that the electric bike. So the implementation are very straightforward. In my case, because I implement the electric bikes.
And the motor controller that you use to control those motors?
It's a standard controller from electric bikes. Let me share with you how controllers I use.
That's those same wheels that Doug is using. He takes off the hoverboard and he was trying to use an O drive on it. He's trying to use that VSEC controller on it. And as Javier points out, you can use electric bike controller too, that normally runs the hub motors on a bike.
Yes. Electric. I have an article. Electric bike controllers. This is the controller. This is the controller.
Oh, that's cool.
The great advantage that the controller is for electric bike, but you can use with the same implementation for the overboard wheels. So I resolved the 2 robots with the same solution.
And it survived out in the field. Those motors.
Yes. In the case of in this campaign will survive. Maybe the next we broken, but I don't know. I share with you this article. If you.
Yeah, I would like to read that. And the farmer, or whose field were you analyzing?
We analyze in a field that we specifically plant the crops to obtain the image. No, today we don't have clients, but we're working for the next campaign maybe to sell the robot from, I don't know, 1 or 2 clients to start to testing the technology maybe. But we're working on that. Nowadays, we're working on the technology. Maybe the next year we start to sell something. Maybe the.
And do you know why Juan doesn't like cover crops?
Sorry?
Do you know why Juan doesn't like cover crops?
The cover crops? Yes, it's a crops that when you didn't have crops, you plant to avoid the weeds. No?
Oh, I know what cover crops are. The science these days say cover crops help soil health.
Yes, exactly. Yes.
So I'm not sure why he doesn't like them. I'm just curious.
Maybe because the agrochemical are more easy and the costs are less, I think, but I'm not sure. I'm not sure.
Yeah, because
you need to remove the cover crops.
Oh,
so
maybe,
it's
maybe Juan sells chemicals.
yes. Yes. I don't know. But here in Argentina, I don't know, the entire fields from here use agrochemicals. So because it's an extensive agriculture, you need the agrochemicals because the extension are amazing. So yeah, and the weeds are incontrollable. So
yeah, if you're a chemical salesperson, you wouldn't like cover crops, that's for sure.
yes, I don't know in United States how is if the agrochemical are very used today or you use another techniques, but
yeah, the vast majority of farming is still traditional, which is till the soil,
yes,
use chemical,
production.
yeah, use chemicals.
Yes.
No-till is still common, but you know, chemical fertilizers, pesticides, herbicides, all of that is very common. That's the norm.
The problem is it's still working, so maybe if appear another technology that work better and the same cost, the farmers start to implement. I don't know.
Yeah, it'll be interesting.
Yes. Yes.
Jeff, anything else?
No.
Javier, anything else?
No, for me it's good.
Thank you very much, Javier, for taking time out of your day to join us. It was a very rich conversation.
Thanks. Okay, the next week I try to connect and to talk again. So
Fantastic.
For me, it's very interesting, and I think that these exchanges are very useful for us. So.
And we can adjust certainly content too. If you have suggestions on things to do to improve, just let Jeff or I or Juan know, or post in Slack. And we record this, and I'll post it up to. We're storing things in a Google location as well, so you can look at this later if you care to.
Okay, thanks.
Guys, have a great weekend.
Okay, the next weekend we'll see.
Ciao.
Okay, goodbye.
Yeah, ciao, nos vemos.